Hello. Now we're going to take a look at chapter 8, which has to do with emotions. What I'd like you to do before we get started is you're going to pause the video, but you're going to take a minute and write about a time that you felt sad or stressed out, which could be just daily life right now. So you're going to write about that for, just time yourself for a minute. And after you've done that, you're going to write for about a minute about a time where you felt happy or very excited. And again, you're going to write for a minute. And then after you've done this, I want you to think about when you were writing about these emotions, did you actually experience those emotions? And think about that as we move forward into the definition of what emotions are. So, an important concept in the under the broader topic of emotions is the concept of emotional intelligence. In the 1990s, Daniel Goleman wrote a book called Emotional Intelligence, and there's a video that I'm going to make available to you where he's talking about what he discovered with emotional intelligence. And it's old. It's from a TV show that was called 2020. I don't think it's still on, but I'm not positive. And there's some really funny aspects of it, so I hope you will watch the video. But basically, emotional intelligence is the ability to understand your own emotions and to manage your own emotions, and then to be able to read emotions in other people and then interact effectively with them because you can read those emotions. This became a really important idea because people realized that it wasn't just a person's intelligence that made them successful in their job. That there's in the video he talks about, they did a study at Bell Labs and they found that everyone working there was pretty smart, and yet some people, if they asked to have if they needed something and they asked for help, they were more likely to get help. They had much better interactive skills, and their emotional intelligence, or their EQ, was higher. So, important thing for you to think about is, how well do you understand and manage your emotions? And this is jumping the gun a little bit, but on page 243 in the textbook, or in the online textbook if that's what you're using, it's a way that you can assess your emotional intelligence. It's only 12 questions, so it's not terribly detailed, but at least that gives you a spot to begin. Okay, so now let's look at what exactly are emotions. What are the four components that go into emotion? And one of them is that if you are in the grip of a strong emotion, you will have some physiological changes. Someone looking at you can't necessarily see these, but you will be feeling these on the inside. Your heartbeat is faster, your blood pressure is up, your body's producing a lot more adrenaline and more blood sugar, and your digestion is slowing down. There's the image that you see, they asked people to explain where they felt heat when they were experiencing certain emotions. At first, I thought they had actually done I can't think what it's called, where they look at the heat signature of things, but this was just people's reporting that they felt emotions in different parts of their body. So that's the first. It's not necessarily in order, but this is one of the things that happens when we are in the grip of a strong emotion. There are also nonverbal behaviors, things that if I'm looking at you, I could tell. Your appearance will change, or your behavior will change. So I'm looking at you and I can see that you're breathing fast, and that, maybe your face is red and your palms are sweaty, and I know that you're feeling an emotion, but what emotion is it? I'm not really sure. So, really interesting, nonverbal behavior can cause emotions. It's not always emotions that cause the nonverbal behaviors. If you remember the video I showed you when we were talking about nonverbal communication, and Amy Cuddy talked about the fact that if you hold a pencil in your mouth and your lips turn up, you you can feel happy, although I think I'd be pissed off if I had to hold a pen or pencil in my teeth. Or the fact of standing in the Wonder Woman pose and feeling in that powerful pose, you can feel powerful. So there's definitely a connection between verbalizing the emotion and nonverbal reactions. Sometimes it's not, and we'll get to verbalizing emotions. It's the fourth part. Okay. There's the cognitive interpretation, which is really interesting. The mind impacts how we feel. So, because if it's a strong emotion, what's happening inside us is pretty much the same. So your heart's beating again, you're breathing faster, your eyes are dilated, the whole bit. Are you super excited? Are you terrified? Are you really sad? We don't necessarily know. So the experience of emotions comes from the labels we give it and our interpretations of it. And so it's important to do a reappraisal and to really stop and think, what exactly am I feeling? You're trying to change your cognitive interpretation. Philip Zimbardo, there's something in the text on page 231 where he talks about he's in the classroom and he looks out and he sees the students are kind of droopy and their heads are down, and he realizes he's sweating and he thinks, well, why am I sweating? Oh, I'm sweating because I'm not doing a good job teaching and I should just quit. And then a student says, wow, it's really hot in here. And he realizes, oh, I'm sweating not because I'm nervous, but because I'm hot. So he experienced some reappraisal. So what you see on the right-hand side is a picture of Eli Finkel's TED Talk called The Marriage Hack, where he talks about reappraisal, and that link is also available. Okay, the last part of an emotion is the verbal expression. That not always, but sometimes words are necessary to express emotions. And it is very important to use the language that represents the degree of intensity that you are feeling. Take a look at the chart where it says, I think a lot of us go right down the middle. We say, I'm angry, or, well, I'm kind of angry, or I'm really angry, instead of saying, I'm annoyed, or I'm furious. It's I mean, this might be the English teacher in me, but I would prefer that people used words like furious, grieving, ecstatic, rather than very angry, very sad, very happy. I just think expanding your vocabulary can be useful. Problems happen when you have people who cannot talk about their emotions constructively. Like they don't have the words, or they're not comfortable with it. And this could be because of how you were raised, possibly, and what the expectations of your culture are. So what I want you to do is think of how the emotions you experience in a certain situation might manifest themselves, the physiological changes, the nonverbal reactions, the cognitive interpretations, and the verbal expressions. You can pick any of these. So your romantic partner says to you, we need to talk. What would happen physiologically, nonverbal, cognitive, and then verbal? Or you run into your ex while you are out with your new partner, or you're telling a story and you notice that your listener is yawning, or your professor, not me, but someone kind of intimidating, says, I'd like to see you in my office after class. If none of those seem good to you, think about an experience that you might consider to be somewhat emotionally charged and go through what are the physiological changes? What would my nonverbal reactions be? How am I going to interpret this? And am I going to say anything? And if I say something, what am I going to say? All right, this is the end of the first section. I'm going to take a pause here, have something to drink, my cup of tea, and then I'll get on to section 2.